Hello there, guys. Yours truly, Jimmy Williams again, back with another great and informative video. And guess what? Today, I have a special little message I want to give you that I think is going to transform your lives if you take it to heart. And it's in the subject in the area of mentorship. Okay. And what I want to talk about is the five pillars of a mentor that I think is transformative, the right type of mentor that you need to see significant change in your modus operandi and how you do things and the results that you're getting. Okay, because I call it this, I say it this way, there's good mentors and bad mentors, but everyone can be a mentor of some sort if you really think about it. But you want to make sure that the person that you bring in your life or you're allowed to come into your life to mentor you they have the traits of these five pillars. I call them pillars because they're the foundation. I'm going to give the names of them, and then I'm going to go into an individual that helped me, who mentored me, who had all of these qualities. And then I'm going to tell you what you should look for in the future. I've been at this a long time, guys, and I know what's good, what I think's not so good. All right. What I think should be in your life and what I think should not. Now, everybody's different. Everybody's unique, but chew up the meat and spit out the bones. Number one, a good mentor is going to give you good information. Good information. Okay. Information that you can take and apply. Number two, they're going to give you application. What does that mean? They're going to show you where to apply it and how to do that. Not just giving you something, but showing you where to do it. Number three, they're going to give you motivation. If you have a mentor that you talk to in person, it's just talking to them. There's something about them and their voice and where they've been and the things that they do, how they've done it. It's going to somehow motivate you. Not just a speech, but it's just something about them. Even if you see someone that you've never met before, who you consider a mentor on YouTube, something about them is going to motivate you. Number four, they're going to give you affirmation. There's something about a really good mentor, especially the ones you talk to over the phone or you meet them in person. They will affirm you. So they give you the application, they show you how to do it, and they affirm you. They don't condemn you. They show you and give you the confidence to do a thing, and they give you that affirmations. That's what you need sometimes. Number five, inspiration. All right. So being inspired sometimes is more than just hearing somebody, preach the rooftop of something and make it, get you so excited, right? You get inspired because you saw that the person who's speaking into your life or the person that you have access to or who you're listening to has done something. They have a story. That's the main thing about branding and becoming an individual that's different and unique. When you see them, how they've branded themselves, there's something about their story that inspired you to follow them in the first place. All right, so let's hop right into this. So those five qualities, I think, are the very, very bare minimum of what you need to see operating if somebody's going to be speaking into your life or giving you instruction. So for me, it was my grandfather, right? And I always tell this story, and I think you should listen to this very carefully because, again, the greatest mentor in your life sometimes won't be a multimillionaire always, but it's something about their life and how they're doing things and the trajectory that they're on or the things they've accomplished that truly, truly moved you to be inspired, and everything else I said on this list. But he was a man that was, he had a second grade education. And the powerful thing about him was he was a self-builder. He was a self-made, creative man. He created things, all right? Second grade education, no problem. Became a welder, a really good welder, almost just like a blacksmith, you would say. He could weld things together and got paid. He went out and built things and got people paid him to build things, all right? He built this huge machine one time, and never forget it. 7 to 10 feet in the air, probably higher than that, maybe 15 feet in the air. And this machine it could go in the ground and it could go out and locate actual water in the ground. So it was basically it dug wells into the ground. I've never seen a person be able to do that. He would hook it to the back of his truck and it had all these different moving parts to it, pulleys and all that he put together from his own mind. And it would go down and locate this real running water in the ground. And he would put down pumps. He would dig the well, put down the pumps for his clients from A to Z. He could do it himself. And I saw him do it for tons of people. I used to be there with him. I was like 10 years old to see this. Never seen anything like it. That was the first thing that really impressed me. The second thing, he was a man of the Most High. He feared the Most High, and he actually built his own church with his own hands, him and his sons. And, he just reverenced the Most High. I love that about him. Thirdly, he was, a farmer. He inherited land coming down through the generations, and he was able to take that land and make the land be fruitful and then multiply because he knew how to plant. right? And harvest the land, did all those great things. He even had a tobacco barn, all right? And he had all this property that was handed down, and he knew how to cultivate the land. Fourthly, he was a master builder. The house that he lived in, he built this house from his own hands in the 50s, 40s, 50s, somewhere in there, way before I was born. And I got a chance to see it in the 70s, in the 80s when I came down from Rochester, New York to physically live with him. My mother, my parents, we lived with him. And that house, he built it up, again, can you imagine? He dug the footer, the frame, poured the floor, did everything from A to Z, dug in the ground, got running water. And that was a very serious thing to see a black man have, dig his own well and have running water in the house in those times. Because on my father's side, his people were a lot more poor and they didn't have running water in the house. So to see it on my mom's side was incredible. And that just really, really impressed me how he was able to do all of that. On top of that, he was a fantastic cook. He had his own little restaurant. He would build properties for other people, houses and all that. And he had several quote unquote jug joints really before he actually gave his life to the Father in heaven and started living righteously. But he had his own little clubs where he built these clubs and they were like party places, And he did all of this with that second grade education, but he had a mind to grow and build things and cultivate things. And he didn't make it, he had no excuses for his success. He found a way to make it happen. He didn't regard his color, all those things that most people will look at and say that's going to hold me back, or where he came from and all that. He just overcame that. And to me, that was the greatest piece of mentorship that I could have gotten. And when I got him one-on-one, he would just tell me certain things about himself and told me how he did it. So he would give me valuable, number one, information. He would give me tricks and certain sayings he would say to me, like, hey, Jimmy, by the time you're 12 or 13, you should consider starting your own company, a business or something, selling some products and services. And he gave me that information and it stuck with me. I got a job at 13. I didn't start a business at 13, but I didn't really understand what he meant until he got older. He would also say, you got to work your mind or you're going to work your behind. You're going to, a guy named Reverend Ike, a famous preacher, said that too. But he told me you got to learn to work your mind more. He gave me the information. I just had to take it and run with it. All right. And he showed me how to apply things. Number two, the application. He would tell me, this is where you need to go and do certain things. Like we would go fishing. This is a funny story. And for some reason, every time I go fishing with him, I would never catch any fish. He would catch them all. Right. And I'm like, what is he doing? He told me, go over here, put this bait on your pole and go in this section over here. This is where the fish are. Somehow he supernaturally knew where the fish were and I didn't know where they were. Sometimes we'd be fishing side by side, but he was catching fish and I wasn't. And I thought, man, this man is so blessed, right? What's the difference? I realized that it was something about the blessing on his life and he had the wisdom of what to fish with. I was fishing, sometimes I'd be fishing with little worms and he was using something else called mealworms. They look a little bit different. If you're from the country, you know what that is. Looks like a little caterpillar almost. It's a different type of worm that he was using to catch certain types of catfish and brim and all that. And he would give me some of those and he told me, only put this much lead on there, right? And he told me how to be successful, how to be prosperous at catching fish. And it was the same thing with business ethics he taught me. Number three, motivation. Okay. How did he motivate me? Just sitting back, looking at him do what he did gave me all the motivation that I need. Okay, here's a guy with a second grade education. By the way, he had 17 children. Okay, 17 kids, honored and loved his wife. She stayed inside the home. She was powerful, right? She was just as powerful as he was because she was raising these kids and she was a righteous woman, right? But how they worked together and how he took care of his family, that was all the motivation that I needed. I didn't understand it when I was a little kid, but now I get it. And that's why I'm in business today, because of the foundation that he laid. Number four, affirmation. Sometimes when I used to get in trouble because I wasn't always the best kid, and I'll never forget one time my mother, she disciplined me really bad because I did something bad. I went to school and I had a problem with a certain teacher. I'll never forget, it was fifth grade. Teacher's name was Miss Nesmith, and she wrote a letter to my mother. And I took the letter, instead of taking it to my mom, I took it and I wrote it myself. I took her letter, wrote it myself in the same ink and everything. But my mother knew it was me. When she saw the letter, she said, "This is not your teacher. This is you." And I did that to circumvent because I had done something bad and I didn't want to get in trouble. Well, she disciplined me really good, and it got back to my grandfather, and he said, "Son, it's gonna be okay." He said, you're gonna end up being a lawyer one day. He said he used to call me Lawyer Boo, right? My nickname's Boo Boo, but he called me Lawyer Boo because he was being a little sarcastic, but he was saying, I'm here for you. I don't condone what you did, but you got to do better than this, Jimmy. You got to do better than this. I affirm you. I believe in you, but you got to do better. He said, you better off being a lawyer because you were trying to manipulate the system. And he was in this little funny way. He was really giving me what I needed to succeed. He never really put me down or disrespected me. That's what I'm saying. When you have a mentor that really cares for you, they're going to give you the information. They're going to give you the application. They're going to show you what to do, how to do it. They're going to motivate you, give you the motivation, and they're going to affirm you. They're not going to feel like you're trying to take over or feel threatened by you. Real mentors don't care about those things. A real mentor wants you to succeed and supersede them eventually. And he never said that to me, but I could tell that he knew he wasn't going to be here much longer, but he wanted to impart everything that he had in him into me. And he had other sons and daughters too. And there was a few that really took that mantle. Not very many, but I knew that I had that mantle on my life. I took a big portion of that. And that's why I'm in real estate and finance and all those things today. Number 5, inspiration. Sometimes you can hear a good message. You can hear, somebody like, you guys, a lot of y'all if you're in real estate, you like the real big names. I won't say some names because I can't even say their names, but you know who I'm talking about. Some of the big names that's out there. You hear them at a big 10X conference. That's an idea. That's a in your head that you know who that is. And you hear them speak and it's like, oh wow, they're fantastic. And you hear some of the great preachers like Dr. Martin Luther King. He's so inspirational when you hear him when it comes to, righteous living, bringing people together. But sometimes it's not going to be that great public figure that's going to give you the inspiration. You get inspired, us as humans, when you see somebody with a story, like I was saying at the beginning, who have a tremendous story of overcoming things, the spirit of the overcomer. That's where true inspiration is going to come from. Because how does it inspire you? Because you understand that the person that did that, they weren't always that way. They came out of poverty. They came out of sickness or disease. They came from a troubled household. Some of them might have been rich, but the people that they were rich with and their parents and everything, could have disowned them or something could have happened. But my point is they overcame some sort of adversity to become who they were. And that's where the story, especially when you're branding, you have to tie it with a story, a legitimate story about yourself that's real. That's what's going to connect. And that's how you get the true inspiration. So with him, when I saw that he had the secondary education, right? He had this land, he cultivated the land, and he had all these children, and he taught all of them, the ways of the Most High, and he raised them and he took care of them, and he built houses for folks. He had the land, and he took that land and produced, lots of other fruits and vegetables on the land and ate off the land. And we had chickens and all that. He was a great cook. He could cook, and, people came out to get his barbecue. All these things that he did, I'm sure I'm leaving things out, inspired me to follow him. Lastly, so if you have someone in your life that does that, they have all these different steps, you're going to have a successful life in what you're trying to portray and what you're trying to do, because you'll be able to look at their life and implement the strategies that they gave you. Implementation is so important, because if you don't implement what you hear and all these steps, you get nothing. So I'm not going to tell you that tomorrow you're going to be a multimillionaire or the next week you're going to be successful. That's not how this works. Some of you, yeah, but 95% of you, you're going to have to put some work in, and you got to